You ever notice how the moment things start going well, you kind of stop doing the things that got you there? Like when you're broke or desperate or backed into a corner, discipline isn't even a question, you just do it. You wake up early because you have to. You work late because there's no choice. You skip the junk food because, well, you're trying to turn your life around, and it feels urgent. But then, things improve. You get the promotion, the money starts coming in, the relationship stabilizes, your body looks better, and suddenly, almost without noticing, you start sleeping in a little, skipping the gym here and there, ordering takeout more often. And it's not like you make one big decision to quit. It's more like you give yourself permission, just once, then twice. You tell yourself it's temporary, a reward, a break. And here's the weird part. You don't even feel like you're slipping. You feel like you've earned it, which maybe you have. But there's something else happening underneath that we don't talk about. So what is it about comfort that makes discipline so hard to hold on to? Because I think we've been thinking about this all wrong. We treat discipline like it's about willpower, like it's this thing you either have or you don't. And when it fades, we blame ourselves, call ourselves lazy, weak, unmotivated. We assume the problem is us, that we got soft, lost our edge. But I don't think that's what's happening at all. I think discipline doesn't break down because you get weaker. It breaks down because the story you're telling yourself changes. And nobody warns you about that part. Here's what I mean. When life is hard, discipline has a really clear purpose. It's survival. It's transformation. It's proof that you're fighting back against something. Every morning you wake up early, you're telling yourself, I'm not staying here. I'm becoming someone different. And that story is powerful. It gives meaning to the discomfort. It makes the sacrifice feel worth it. But when things get comfortable, that story disappears. You've already become the person you wanted to be. The emergency is over. And your brain, very reasonably, starts asking, why are we still doing this? And honestly, you don't have a good answer. Because what are you fighting for now? To stay the same? To not lose what you already have? That doesn't feel the same. It doesn't carry the same weight. There's this concept in psychology called temporal discounting. Basically, it's the idea that humans are terrible at valuing future rewards when the present feels fine. When you're in pain, when you're overweight, broke, stuck, you can feel the future version of yourself. You can almost touch it. And that makes discipline feel worth it. But when you're comfortable, the future feels abstract, hypothetical. It's like, why would I suffer now to protect something I already have? And your brain starts running these little calculations. Like, okay, I've been good for 6 months. Missing one workout won't matter. And it probably won't. That's the thing. One missed workout doesn't matter. One lazy morning doesn't ruin anything. But it changes the pattern. And patterns are everything. And that's the trap. Because comfort doesn't just make discipline harder. It makes it feel unnecessary. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. The thing about slipping when life is good is that it doesn't feel like slipping. It feels like balance, like finally relaxing, like enjoying the life you worked so hard to build. And maybe that's true for a while. Maybe you do need to ease up. Maybe you were too rigid before, too extreme. But then, 6 months later, a year later, you look around and realize you're not the same person anymore. Not in the way you wanted to be. The body you worked for starts to fade. The sharpness you had dulls a little. The confidence that came from doing hard things, it's just not there the same way. And you start noticing these small things, like how your clothes fit differently, or how you don't have that same energy in the afternoon, or how you used to have an answer when someone asked what you were working on, and now you kind of don't. Nothing catastrophic, just different. And the worst part? You didn't even see it happening. Because it never feels like a loss. It just feels like life. So here's the real question. Is discipline even possible when life is comfortable? And I think the answer is yes, but not the way we've been taught. Because most advice about discipline assumes you need more pressure, more stakes, more fear. Like, just imagine losing everything, or pretend you're still desperate. But that doesn't work, because you're not desperate anymore, and pretending you are just feels hollow. You can't scare yourself into discipline when there's nothing to be scared of. And honestly, trying to do that just makes you miserable. So instead of trying to manufacture urgency, what if we reframed discipline entirely? What if discipline isn't about achieving something? What if it's about protecting something? Not your goals, not your future, your identity. Because here's the thing. When you stop doing the things that made you who you are, you don't just lose progress. You lose yourself. The version of you that wakes up early, that works hard, that keeps promises to yourself. That's not just a routine. That's an identity. And when you let it slip, even when life is good, you start to feel it. Not like failure, more like distance from yourself. Like, you know that feeling when you run into an old friend and they've changed, and you can't quite put your finger on how, but something's just off. That's what it feels like when you drift from your own standards. Except you're both people in that equation. You become a stranger to the version of yourself you used to respect. So how do you keep discipline when comfort tries to take it away? I think it starts with this. Stop treating discipline like a tool you only use when things are broken. Start treating it like a practice. Something you do because of who you are, not because of what you want. That means you don't need extreme routines. You don't need to wake up at 4 a.m. or run marathons or live like you're still clawing your way out of the bottom. You just need anchors. Small, non-negotiable things that keep you tethered to the version of yourself you respect. Maybe it's one hard workout a week. Maybe it's writing every morning, even if it's just for 10 minutes. Maybe it's protecting your sleep, your reading time, your focus. It could even be something tiny, like always making your bed, or never checking your phone first thing in the morning. Things that don't seem like they matter, but they remind you who you decided to be. It doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be yours. Because the point isn't to impress anyone. The point is to not lose the thread. And here's the shift that changes everything. You stop asking, what do I need to do to stay disciplined? And you start asking, what kind of person do I want to be when no one's watching? Because that's the real test of discipline, isn't it? Not what you do when everything's on the line, but what you do when nothing is. When there's no deadline, no audience, no pressure. Just you and the choice. I think the hard truth is this. Comfort is a test most people fail. Not because they're weak, but because they don't see it coming. They think discipline is something you need when life is hard, and they forget. It's actually something you need more when life is easy. Because when life is hard, discipline is obvious. When life is comfortable, it's optional. And that's exactly when it matters most. Because anyone can be disciplined when they're desperate. But who you are when you don't have to be, that's who you actually are. So if you're in a season where things are going well, and you feel that slow drift starting to happen, don't panic. Don't burn it all down and try to recreate the pressure you used to have. Just ask yourself, who do I want to be right now? Not who you were when you were desperate. Not who you'll be when everything's perfect. Right now. In this moment. When no one's looking and nothing's forcing you. That's where discipline lives. And maybe that's the version of yourself worth protecting most.